Governor Scott, we recognize that you've been on a real whirlwind tour, skating just ahead of the rain shower, and good planning on everybody's part. I would like to encourage everybody to speak close into the microphone, and I was just demonstrating what happens whenever you don't.
That was really well the way you did that.
And you know, you've been on a real whirlwind tour of the port, and we recognize that. But at the end of this time with us, we hope that the one thing that we would like for you to understand and take away with you is that Port Manatee is at the dawn of a great opportunity to create jobs and to have a substantial economic benefit on our region. So we, whatever it takes to make that happen, we need that from you. So thank you. And now it's your economic roundtable.
Well, first off, I'd like to thank the port for hosting this today. Representative Boyd, thanks for all your support in the legislature. I don't know if Senator Bennett's here. But you know, one thing you can see at part of your state government now is there's a real focus on our ports. I don't know where the charts are, but you look at the dramatic increase in funding for our ports. Part of that is directly in our ports, and part of that is our infrastructure around our ports. But it's a significant driver for jobs. If you go around our state, as we all know, the biggest issue we deal with is we don't have enough jobs. While we've made a lot of progress in the last 18 months, last 19 months now, I guess I've been governor, we still have 800,000 people out of work. I think we've still the second biggest drop in unemployment in the country. About 40% of the people that are on unemployment when I took office are not on unemployment today. Our workforce boards are filling 25 to 30,000 jobs a month, and 20 to 25% of those individuals are people that were on unemployment. So we've, retail, tourism's way up. Restaurants are doing better, way better. The home prices are up, home sales are up, new home construction's up, exports are up. So you look at all the indicators. The money you're sending to the state's up. So we're doing the right things, but we still have 800,000 people out of work. So we still have a lot to do. So my goal today is just to hear from you of things that we can do better at the state. Any ideas? I'm willing to call anybody and everybody. We've done 6 trade delegations that I've been on. The Lieutenant Governor's been on 2. The first one we did was Panama Canal because we know the significant opportunity with our ports. But if you look at all around the state, our ports are doing better and better all the time. And Port Manatee is a big opportunity. With the expansion of the Panama Canal being so close to that, but also just the growth in Latin America. I mean, we're the gateway. And if you look at this map over here, I think one thing that people don't think enough about in Florida is, we have 19 million people. We're going to pass New York as far as population next year. But when you think about the Latin American growth, the Panama Canal, we should be in the United States the global center for trade. There's no other state has 15 seaports, none. And we have great seaports. And you look at Port Manatee, and look at the leadership. Look at the leadership here and what they've done with additional investment. So we have a big opportunity, but we've got a lot left to do. So maybe the first thing we ought to do is just run around the table quickly and introduce ourselves, and then my goal is to listen, and I think Representative Boyd would say the same thing. What can we be doing at the state level that we can accelerate growth? So you want to start?
Yes, Larry Bussell. I'm the chairman of the Port Authority and a member of the Manatee County Commission.
I'm John Chappie. I'm chairman of the Board of County Commission for Manatee County, sir.
I'm Jerry Morler. I'm the chairman of the Manatee EDC.
Sharon Hillstrom, President and CEO, Manatee Economic Development Corporation.
Brian Giuliani, Port Manager for Del Monte Fresh Produce.
Sandy McLaughlin, I'm with Air Products and Chemicals, who are probably the newest neighbour.
And while we're there on Air Products, you want to talk about? Yeah. And you've got the perfect Pennsylvania accent. And but you want to talk about what you're doing and the investment you're making and your experience so far with the state, real quick,
Yeah, certainly. Thank you.
and local, not just state.
We make Air Products is a global company, and we have, as part of that, a little niche product that we make, which is, I say little product, but it's actually a massive product that liquefies natural gas. So we don't do the liquefaction, we just build this equipment. We have technology, it's highly proprietary, we have a leadership position in that, and it's a growing market. And these huge components are becoming larger and larger. We're having to expand from our current base, manufacturing base in Pennsylvania, and we were looking for somewhere that would give us the opportunity to build things even bigger. And we did a search up and down the East Coast and the Gulf Coast, and we came across Port Manatee, and we're thrilled. It's an excellent facility, and it was one that, to be honest, wasn't even on our radar screen to start with. And but it turned out to be a little jewel that we were very impressed with. We've had nothing but tremendous cooperation from Sharon and her team at the Economic Development Corporation, the state, myself, Grace Swoop, great help, and everybody here in Manatee County has been just tremendous in trying to make things happen for us. Everybody's had a can-do attitude, and the reality is the port is the key thing for us. We export every product that we make, and we needed a good port, and this was it.
And 250 jobs over the next 4 years at least, right?
That's our goal, is that we're looking for a place which is comparable to our existing place, and so we expect to create about 250 jobs over the next 4 years, yes.
So 250 families will be better off.
That's thankfully.
That's the way to think about it.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Mike.
Mike Soul with Florida Power and Light.
Rick Hansen with Hobart Ground Systems.
Richard Greenwell with Mustang Vacuum Systems and Mustang Solar.
Debbie Mills, Executive Manager, Bradenton Area Convention and Visitors Bureau.
Stanley Riggs, Port Manatee Commerce Center. I own the warehouses at the entrance.
Michael Maloney with Bells Inc.
Casey Rogers with Felder Entertainment. We own Ringling Brothers, Barnum & Bailey, Disney on Ice, Disney Live. Go down the list. That's what we do.
Oh, that's great. That's fun.
Ed Hunziker, County Administrator, Manatee County.
Bob Bartz, Manatee Chamber of Commerce.
Billy Hadaway, District 1 Secretary.
I'm Chip Janik, and I'm the Deputy Maritime Administrator with the U.S. Department of Transportation.
And I'm Bob Armstrong, Port Manatee Senior Director of Business and Finance.
So, so the whole goal today is what can, and I'm sure you'd say the same thing, what can the federal government do better? I mean, I think everybody, whether you're in local government or state government or federal government, knows that the biggest issue we have is jobs. So what should we be focused on? At the state level, we've eliminated about 1,700 regulations. We've cut the property taxes over $200 million in the last 19 months. We cut the business tax out for 2/3 of the companies that were paying it. And I think FDOT has been extremely responsive. And I think, Mike, your experience with DEP has been positive, right?
Yes, sir.
So what we've done there. So I think we're heading in the right direction. But what can we be doing that we can improve the creation of jobs, basically? No one likes. Who wants to go first? Okay, good. Hey, Bob.
We have a very successful technical school, and they need help in funding. In 1997, the legislature had a formula that they were following, and they've kind of stayed on that formula up until, I congratulate you, Governor, when you came in the office, they've started to inch that up, so it's for every dollar earned, they get that dollar back. As a result of the recent increase that the school received, Sandy's company with Air Products, they wouldn't have been able to do the welding training that was necessary. So it's very important to prepare our workforce for the future, and this is something where we could use your help.
Well, the focus, whether it's K through 12, state college, universities, is try to direct the money where the jobs are. Direct the money where we know individuals can, with whether it's a degree, a certificate, whatever it is, that they're going to end up getting a job. And so we're trying to do that at all three, K through 12, state colleges, and our universities. And so, and I know there'll probably be some proposals in this next session. As y'all probably know, the session starts next March, but it's something I'm focused on, and I think the legislature is very receptive to doing it. Thank you. I think we are doing. There's a lot of. I mean, a lot of it's based on local leadership, but we are doing a lot of good things. But it does take funding also. Sure. You have a question?
I have a question to the natural gas aspect. Will the state be given any kind of tax credit for the conversion of rolling stock trucks, personal vehicles to compressed natural gas or propane?
I don't think today there's any, Mike. There's no programs right now. If there here's my experience so far, just doing this now for 19 months. Everything, the legislature is very receptive to anything that we get a return on investment. So everything we do, we are, like if you look at the increase in the investment in our ports, we can see that we're getting a return. If you look at anything we would do, like with Air Products, you can see at the state level we're getting a return on either sales tax dollars or your property tax dollars. And so if we're going to make an investment in something, so if you have something like that you can show that we can get a return, we would. I think the legislature, and I know I would be very receptive. I know what we're seeing around the state is, especially a lot of local communities are starting to opening up these the plants, or however you. And so we did one in Tallahassee. I don't know, Mike, if you want to add anything.
Well, Governor, there were tax credits not for actual rolling stock, but for infrastructure. So as you look at the state's infrastructure and conversion to other renewable or alternative fuel sources, I think the tax credits existed for that. I don't believe it was specific to natural gas, but we need to look at that. But there was infrastructure improvements, and as the governor says, it needs to be on an eye on what's our return for the state of Florida associated with those tax credits.
Yes, Sharon.
One of the challenges that we see is how Florida is perceived by the outside world. It is not necessarily perceived as a business destination, and I'm really impressed with the fact that you're going out there and selling the state. I always say the governor's pounding the pavement for Florida, and we appreciate that, but I think we need to do more. I'd like to see more dollars go to marketing the state as a business destination, and I'd like you to speak to that.
Sure. When I came into office, we weren't pushing the state as much as we could on how good a state could be for doing business. So we've done a lot of things, from co-hosting Squawk Box to doing the right things by cutting taxes, regulation, permitting process. Today, I think if you need to get a professional license or occupational license, the average is 2 days, 2.05 days at the state level if you need it at the state level. An environmental permit is 64 days. So we've made a lot of progress. I've done Squawk Box 3 times. I always get Governor Perry on because Texas has been winning. They were perceived to be the best place to do business. I just did for the last 8 years, I just did a fishing tournament with him on Monday, and I knew he would lose. So what I did is each of us took a veteran with us, and so I had team hats. He didn't know about it when we started but it was okay. Our team hat was Beat Perry, my other veteran and me. His team hat was I'm Worried, and we did beat him. We went out of Destin, and so at the end he did catch a bigger red snapper than we did, but we caught more variety of fish and way more fish. And then on Neil Cavuto's show live, I gave him his second place trophy. The trophy was at least that tall and had number 2. There was going to be something he was going to be number 2. But by doing that, what we've done, and today we have together, Governor Perry and I have an op-ed in the Washington Times just talking about job growth and how we're competing, because we weren't aggressive enough. Now what we've done, if you look at Chief Executive Magazine, just came out in May, we're now perceived to be the second best place to do business. And I've let Governor Perry know this is his last year being number 1. We will pass him next year. But we are, it has changed. Now here's what we do in the legislature, as one thing, and sometimes the legislature reminds me of this, I don't appropriate money. The legislature does all that. But we are putting way more money into marketing in the state, but on the Visit Florida side, it does help a lot. Last year we had 87 million tourists come here. When 87 million people come to the state, they want to live here. So it does work, but we don't have a direct marketing campaign like Michigan does and Virginia does, and I know New York does, the state of New York. But we are, if you look at, I agree with you, we can do more, but if you look at every economic indicator, no one can compete with us. There's no one's growing like we are right now.
Right. Well, and I think we're definitely heading in the right direction. There's no question about that. So we
Yeah.
appreciate that. So we just want to keep it going.
Yeah. The issue we've got is I don't want to ask the legislature for anything that I can't see that I can get a return. If I got to tie it to getting a return. Like the Visit Florida numbers, we get a 5 times return for that. It's a 2-to-1 match. The private sector has to put up $2 for every dollar. And that's now, this year will be $150 million. And the federal government now has even an additional match, so we're even leveraging that more. The trade missions are working. I don't know how many of you went on any of the trade missions, but Brazil by itself, we had 187, almost 200 people went. It's our biggest trading partner, and we picked up a lot of business. I mean, even Trinidad and Tobago, Jennifer Carroll just went, our Lieutenant Governor did last week, and that's a big trading partner. So we're getting known, and one thing we don't appreciate in Florida from a financial standpoint, Miami is the second biggest financial center in the United States. We have more foreign banks in Miami than any other city than New York City in the entire country. So, and we are clearly, because of our diversity, people want to do business in Florida, and we are getting. I went to the air show in London in July. I met with 42 aerospace companies. We're number 2. People don't realize this. We're number 2 in the state in aerospace and aviation, and we are picking up more business than California, number 1. And we're the 3rd biggest number of technology companies, 4th biggest U.S. exporter. People still ask me, so are you a retirement community?
Right, exactly.
They don't. A lot of people don't know. We are not, and you look at the state, people are moving here. I think there's no perfect numbers on all this, but I think last year 200,000 people moved to Florida. So we have had a big change. You see the number of homes on the market has come way, way, way down all across the state. So, but yeah, there's things we can do better. I always ask if everybody in business in Florida sent an email to everybody they do business with and told them how great this place was, we would even grow faster, and that'd be about the cheapest thing we could do.
Thank you.
Yes.
You just heard Air Supply talk about that we weren't on the radar, we weren't at all on the radar, but they found us. Now you've just toured Port Manatee, and you've been, I'm sure, to most all the ports. I'd just like to know your impression of Port Manatee and your thoughts. As you can see, we are begging for business. We want business. We need your support. So I was just wondering what your impressions were.
If you look at, I've been in business all my life. So, and if you look at people that have been in business, the success is tied to the leadership, and how good your leadership is. Because, look, Port Manatee has all the opportunity in the world. I mean, if you look at how this short distance it is to get here, if you look at the proximity to the Panama Canal, if you look at how close you are to the rail, and the access to rail, access to the I-75, I mean, you try to find a place that's in a better position, right? So I think you have every opportunity in the world, but it's going to end up how well your leadership is. If you get all the business, if you outwork everybody else, because you have all the things going for you. It's all tied to how, if you have good leadership that goes out and gets revenues. It's like any other business. But and our job at the state is to invest the dollars where we can get the best return. And so, I'm going to continue, because I believe probably one of our, maybe, I don't know if it's our best opportunity, but clearly our seaports are, I don't know where we can do a better job of creating jobs and expanding our seaports. You look at all these ports and the number of jobs that are tied to these ports. look at our proximity. I mean, we have every opportunity, and Port Manatee is unbelievably well positioned. Yes, ma'am.
From a tourism perspective, I'd like to thank you for your support of Visit Florida. This year they're very energized, even more than in the past, and we know that for every 7 visitors, 1 job is created. In Manatee County, for every 18, 1 job is created. So I would hope that you would continue supporting tourism, and especially if there could be some kind of incentive maybe for hoteliers, ferries. We're trying to launch a ferry between Pinellas County and Manatee. We'd love to have any kind of, assistance for small operators to start businesses like that, much like the seaport. Hopefully one day we'd maybe even have a cruise line in here. That would be good for pre and post, and so we definitely would like to have your support on that.
Yeah, Visit Florida is doing a good job. They've got, we gave them, the legislature funded it. We increased it from, I think, $37 million to $34, $37 million to $54 million. And so they're doing a good job of marketing the state. I'll tell you one thing that's nice about the state of Florida, anything that we can see that we can get a return on, we can eventually find funding for. Now I like the things that I can get multiples back on, so better. The rowing center. So the state put up $5 million. We're supposed to get $12 million a year back in sales taxes. So, and if we don't, the county will give us the money back. I'd like to do a lot of those deals all around the state. So.
We'll take you up on that.
Okay. But you look right now. You look around the state. The Panhandle has the tourism businesses. Their summer is their tourism area. This is the busiest ever in the history of the state for the Panhandle. They're 95% occupancy, or have been until school starting, and prices are way up. If anybody's gone to Destin lately, I mean, it's forever, the traffic, because of how much tourism is up, way more than they ever anticipated. BP, when I first came in, I negotiated for them to give us $30 million to market it, and that worked. And they've continued to fund. They're still funding marketing, and so they've gotten a lot of tourists that they weren't getting. They've done a good job, and it's really paid off. But the entire Panhandle is busy, but the state's still busy. If you look at my hometown is Naples, they've been busy all summer. The our restaurants are busy. Usually it's more foreign tourists, but the Keys have been busy. Yes, sir.
Governor, thanks again for coming down. One of the things that we've been working on for a number of years, but just haven't been executed, and that's a new east-west highway across the state. Starting at Port Manatee, we already have a connector that's going through the ugly EIS process. Hopefully we'll get that finished later on this year. But the real goal is to have it go all the way across to East Coast Fort Pierce, or connect with the Parkway over there. And just would like to know your thoughts. I know you've talked about that before. And also the second item is we have a tax incremental financing, a TIF, similar to CRAs and DDAs. But the taxes that we can control as far as giving back to companies are only the county taxes, and the school taxes are something that I feel if we were allowed to utilize those monies to reinvest back into industries versus having industrial property pay the school taxes in these areas of economic development, probably would be a good return on the investment.
Okay, Bill might be able to say a little bit more about FDOT, but here's where we are. We have about, see if I get this right, we have about $7 billion a year. It's a 5-year work plan. We're trying to spend the money, and what FDOT has been trying to do is make sure that money gets allocated to where it has the biggest economic impact on the state. On top of that, the federal government has now allowed us to do more user fees on our highway system. So we've got a lot of projects around the state, and it makes sense at some point to do something across the state, but we look at every day what's the best investment of those dollars. We've been able to, because FDOT has saved, they've been very aggressive at saving money in some things, to be able to put some more money into the ports. I don't know, Billy, if you want to add anything.
No, we're working, obviously, we have a lot of ports that want money. Excuse me. We have a lot of ports that want money, and the Secretary is focused on trying to get the money as quickly as possible to all the needs throughout the state. So a lot of it is obviously related to competition, We're working as aggressively on the port connector as we physically can. Right now, our challenges with the feds and the Secretary is getting ready to escalate that project and a couple of others above our division federal highway rep to see if we can't get them to cut us loose, because they're basically requiring us to do additional studies that are costing more than is really necessary for things that are pretty clear are not good options. So again, getting back to the idea of return on investment, it's not a good investment to spend money on studies that don't get us there.
Well, you want to add anything, Paul?
Well, I think the key is I can speak to maritime, and that's right. And
but can't you just like commit a few billion?
Let me check my wallet. But I think the key is and one of the things, and I think everybody, and you have it exactly right. We're looking for return on investment as we evaluate the folks that have applied for federal dollars for grants. We're looking where the money can be best spent, and then there's actually a return. And so,
you have the same problem we do.
Absolutely, because I mean we're trying to make sure that the dollars go as far as they can, and then what we're really trying to leverage is the states and the local communities and the various private venture. If they can build on the grants that we can provide, similar to what we've done with the Tiger grant here for Port Manatee, and
leverage it.
Leverage it and creates a big bang for the buck. And if you can couple that, in fact, the Port of Brownsville and Port of Manatee essentially went together to try to get, and so $9 million came to Port Manatee, $12 million went to Brownsville, and you couple those two together, and you now get a cross-Gulf connector that adds 400 jobs. That's a return on investment.
The second question is about allowing more flexibility for the local communities. I completely support more flexibility. So we did some of that last year, and because my belief is, locally, your county commissions, your EDCs, you're gonna figure out where you can get the biggest bang, and so I absolutely agree with you to provide more flexibility. Yes, sir.
I know money is tight, but besides money, there's timing. And one of the things we find frustrating, we were talking to Billy last week, is how much time it takes to do things. When we're trying to deal with businesses thinking of relocating to the community, one of the things we pride ourselves on is how fast we can move. But then there's always those questions that we get into in some federal projects or state projects that the timing just isn't as quick as we would like. And that doesn't necessarily cost any more money. That just requires an attitude to get it done a little quicker. And so if you could work on that, we'd certainly appreciate it.
Well, I think at the state level, and we've been able to accelerate.
Yes.
I think FDOT's done a good job, and I think the two areas that and Mike used to be with DEP, and it's not easy, but I think Herschel Vineyard, who was running DEP, has done a good job of accelerating all that. So I think those are the two areas where, and plus they have the biggest on development. They have the biggest impact. Plus, getting rid of DCA had a big impact on the state. So we've accelerated all that, and I tell everybody, look, if you have a problem, call my office directly. I'll try to solve it. And I talk to business people pretty much every day about either moving here or if they have an issue trying to get it accelerated. But I feel good about the people that are running each of these agencies. I know at FDOT, Anath Prasad is very focused on it. I'm sure you have lots of pressure, right?
Yes. Which is good.
But if you have ideas of things that we can accelerate.
Well, I think it was what Billy brought up about the EIS study on this road we're trying to get built, the Port Connector Road, that's been in the study phase for seems like forever.
Well, I think unfortunately
That's
the federal government
side.
has, I think the federal government has some mandates, and whether those mandates are by regulation or by statute. We just were able to get a settlement of a dispute with the federal government that had been going on, I think, for over 30 years on the Everglades, and we were able to get Justice, EPA, Corps of Engineers, Interior, and the White House all to agree. And that's they had never been able to do that before. So I think that we just got to keep finding ways of accelerating these things.
Absolutely.
Because if you've been in business, what you know is, you'd rather people say no rather than say, oh, fine, I'll get back to you in 2 years or 10 years. It's a lot easier, and that's what we're trying to do at the state level. If you can't do it and you're never going to get to do it, we'll tell you. I don't want to waste your money. But I think the water management districts are also they're much more responsive.
Absolutely, thank you.
So I think and those are the areas where probably from a development standpoint at the state level probably they've had the biggest impact. Also, I think that Gray Swope has come in to do economic development, and he's doing a great job of working locally and accelerating anything the state's going to do. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think that
He's been excellent.
yeah, I think everything at the state we get done as quickly. I mean, pretty quick.
Yes, no, it's very much appreciated.
So.
And Governor, one thing I'll add on that, and I do applaud Gray's efforts, is he definitely looks to find the synergies. So, for example, with Air Products, we were able to provide our economic development rates to the table to help out Air Products to keep their electricity bill down. Sharon and her team were just tremendous. These are things that, the one thing I'm going to ask is, keep up that synergy. I mean, it's not just you. It's got to be all of us working together. And I know that Gray does a tremendous job at it, but it's going to have to take all of our efforts.
Well, in FP&L in the last year and a half, I don't know, Mike, when you guys did it, but they brought in somebody just to do economic development. They came up with a economic development rate in the last year and a half, and it's helped us a lot. So, and the other utilities are doing similar things. So our 4 big utilities are all focused on the same thing, which is helping the state.
I'd have to say, too, the collaboration that we've experienced with the state and our local government, our county commissioners, it's just been incredible. Our county government is known for a business-friendly attitude, and as an economic developer, that's one of the best things that you can market to the outside world. So we're grateful for our elected officials, as well as our state elected officials.
And I also think that it's everybody knows, anybody that's running for office knows it's about jobs now. And so I think all around the state there's a lot of pressure to look at what we're doing, look at what regulation do we actually need. And I know it's true at the state, and I think it's true around the state. So, yes, sir.
I will say that we're just moving another company here to the county. We've been here probably 24 years, but I'm moving another company from Ohio.
Good.
And I think what kind of sells everything, and as far as the incentives and the tax advantages, we'll take those. But I think it's how quickly people react to us, and I think Sharon and her group, she's the glue that can take all these agencies and put them together. I think that's a very valuable service when you're talking to people like me and you're trying to make a decision, do I move the company here, do I move to California, what do I do with it? So I think funding at that level, to pull all the pieces together, it's probably something that maybe you should look into more, I would think.
Right.
I don't know if you have or not.
Yeah, and the other thing I think of is workforce training. I mean, I think our technical schools, we're doing a lot more now, and there's a lot more focus on it. So I think we've been doing that well all along, but there's more we could do. But I agree. What else? Yes, sir.
Governor, I'm Stanley. I'm the warehouse owner. I just want to thank you again for coming to the port and for showing interest in support of small business. When I went on the trade mission to Brazil, you were kind enough to stop by my booth, and today you're kind enough to take the time to go through my private facility here at the port. Again, I'd like to thank you for your support, not only of the seaports, but also of private businesses.
Again, thanks for going to Brazil and representing the state and telling people what we're doing. And this was a lot easier day than one of my work days where I picked oranges. I've done like 11 work days. Anybody that's ever picked oranges, the bag is 75 pounds. 75 pounds. You think it's bad to be on the ladder. No, you're thankful to be on the ladder because at least you can put the bag on the ladder. And if the bag is just around your neck, think about that. And the people that are doing it are, they weigh 120, 130 pounds, if that. And it's not an easy job. Then I had to try to bag 100 oranges a minute in a box. And people are doing that, and they get paid $10 an hour to do it. I got up to about a box every 2 minutes because it's a process, but it was a wonderful group of people. But this was a lot easier day than doing the Orange Grove. That was pretty hard. That's the hardest day I had. probably one of the most fun days was on a cattle ranch. So I had this horse that I was supposed to get this one cow to move, and I just pointed the horse at the cow, and the cow just stared the horse down. I mean, the horse stared the cow down, and the cow moved on. And it looked like I knew what I was doing. My job was not to fall off. I didn't. What else?
Can we
Sharon?
talk about Grow Florida? I think it's an excellent program. It's a program where they take first stage companies to the second stage. It's a state program, which it's an excellent program. However, some of the guidelines do not match up well with our company profiles, and we have a challenge finding enough companies that can participate in the program. So I might suggest that there's some research into perhaps customizing the requirements for different counties so it better matches the company profiles in our communities.
Okay, well, if you'll get it to me.
Okay.
I'll look at it.
Great.
Yeah. What else?
Governor, another area that you have expertise in, that quality of life is king of everything. So corporations that want to live here, move here, the tourists that want to live here and move here. And one of the shortfalls that we are experiencing, as you probably know, is a shortage of physicians in the state. And Manatee County is even experiencing a greater shortfall. We've added medical schools, and very fortunately Manatee County's got a new medical school that's doing great. But the medical residency slots, and I know that's a federal issue, we seem to have a shortage. So when we train the doctors or future doctors and they go off to other areas to do their residency, they tend to locate in the area
of the residency.
Right. So if we can do anything to create additional slots in Florida, it'd be.
Yeah. It's clearly a focus because you're right. I mean, we added medical schools the last few years, and we didn't add enough. We didn't add residency slots, so it's a big focus now. I know USF is working with quite a few hospitals right now and adding residency slots. So around the state, the medical schools are doing that. But we need to think about the end result. On everything we do, the goal, I mean, what I'm trying to do on everything we do, if we're going to spend your dollars, which are sales and property tax dollars, why are we spending it? The state is a procurer of services. That's what we are. And so let's be very results oriented. So as an example, our workforce boards, we have 24 now. We get a daily report how many jobs they filled. They're ranked every day. And so if you look at the numbers, they've increased the number of jobs they filled. So it makes sense because we're measuring them. So we're trying to, every agency and every time the legislature funds a project, that we make sure we get a return by measuring it. So that's something we have to do, though. I mean, it's, long term, we have to get more doctors. Now, part of this is they're worried about the federal changes in what's happening in healthcare law federally. It's not the state level. What else?
Can we talk about sports?
Sure. Minor league baseball? Which one do you want to talk about?
Well, you mentioned the rowing facility, and in Manatee County, we have a targeted sector called sports performance, and we expect this to be a significant economic driver for Manatee County. Case in point, IMG Academies. Let's see, 750 students from 80 different countries. Let's see. $160 million economic impact in 2010, expected to increase to over $350 million in 2013, I believe. This is one of our targeted sectors, and was wondering if the state might consider sports as a targeted sector.
I think it's just tied to what's the return for the taxpayers. It's no different than the rowing center. If you show me what's the investment, what's the state get back in, because I'm spending your tax dollars. That's the way I look at it. It's no different than when I was in business with the shareholder. In this case, it's the taxpayer. So if I see a project that I can see a return for the taxpayer, then I'll do my best to get it funded. So
Good. That's great.
I mean, when I did the rowing center this year, that's how I did. I mean, I looked at it. They did a study. Donna Ardwin, they did a study that showed that in sales tax dollars we would get $12 million a year for $5 million investment. So I'll do those deals all the time.
That works well.
So that's how we looked at it.
Good.
So, it's your tax dollars. Just get a return. All right.
Hand in the back.
Oh, sure. Is there a hand in the back? Yes, sir.
Hi, Governor. David Agee, I just wondered if you can give us an update as to what's happening with the Affordable Care Act and what the state's position may or may not be with respect to seeking a waiver from Medicaid and basically expansion of those programs. Thank you.
Well, as you know, what happened at the Supreme Court, the Supreme Court said the individual mandate was not constitutional, but it was a tax, so you could do it through a tax. I've taken the position that we can't afford to do the Medicaid expansion right now. Here's the way your budget works at the state level. You've got it's really three pockets. It's education, it's Medicaid, and it's prisons. So Medicaid is growing at 3.5 times the general revenue of the state. And it's not like it's a little bitty program. It's a $22 billion program. And the total state budget is $69 billion. The general revenue is only $24 billion. So we have done not this last session, but the session before, we passed Medicaid reform, which would put all of Medicaid into a managed care product. We'd done it in 5 counties 5 years ago. So we still haven't gotten the federal government approval to do that yet. Two things, we can't afford I don't know how we would continue to fund education. We were able, I proposed and the legislature supported me in putting $1.068 billion more in K through 12 education this last session starting for the fiscal year starting July 1st. So it's a trade-off. So I've taken the position that we're not going to expand Medicaid because we just can't afford it. What I want to do is make sure that we can afford a program that takes care of the most vulnerable citizens in our state that can't afford health care, that they get health care. But don't create a program that we know we can never fund it. So that's the position we've taken so far. So. Yes, sir. Hey, John.
I know you're a business guy like I am, and I know that you want to focus on the port, and I applaud that. I think that at this point in time, how receptive would the state be if the port were to pursue a public-private partnership for the Port of Manatee in order to accelerate growth here, so it could possibly have a shot at being ready for 2014 when the Panama Canal opens?
We're very interested. We're doing. You look at what if you look at what FDOT just done more probably than anybody in the state is doing public-private partnerships. But DEP has done some with especially with the parks. We've done a lot of. You guys did a lot of programs with the parks, so the state would be very receptive to doing that. Part of the trade delegation we took to Spain in I think it was May or June. I can't remember now. There's a lot of infrastructure companies in Spain that are very interested in investing in Florida. They like Florida because they've already done a lot of investments in Florida, a lot through FDOT. They're taking all the risk on the 595 expansion. So we're very receptive to public-private partnerships. And the bottom line is, if we want to grow the state, we have to do that. There's not the transportation dollars are not growing. Cars are getting more efficient. And how many of you want your fuel taxes to go up? Anybody voting for that? No. So we're going to be doing a lot more programs like that, and that was a lot of that trade mission. And we met with all the infrastructure companies, and they're very interested in doing more. The banks are very interested in doing more. The Spanish banks have become, for most of them, have become global banks, and so they're very anxious to invest in Florida. And people, if you go around the world, people are anxious to invest in Florida. If you have the right project, they're very interested. Yes, sir.
Hi, Governor Scott. Bob Goss, School District of Manatee County. I want to first start by saying thank you, because you have given us support and shown support for workforce equity funding and helping to get that closer to where it should be. So I want to start by saying thank you for that. And I can't agree with Commissioner McClash's suggestion that you reduce funding for education or teachers by redirecting tax dollars. But we do think that there are some opportunities for you to redirect and prioritize some of the funding for education, and we'd like to extend an invitation to you to come by, and we could talk to you about some of the things that we think could be done to prioritize the funding and make education more effective in the state of Florida.
Yeah, one thing, and we're having this conversation about FCAT to make sure that we have the right testing program, and also making sure that we don't have mandates from the state level that are impacting your ability to provide the best education. Because we'd all like to put more money into education. So one thing we're doing is we're having a lot of conversations about mandates that might not make sense at the local level. And better ways to give you more flexibility of how you spend your dollars. I always joke my mom did a really nice ad for me when I ran for governor, but I really hated her telling me what to do. So I don't think that when you get to Tallahassee you become that much smarter, that you need to be telling everybody what to do. But there's the reason, a lot of the things like in education, I think the reason why some of them have been set up is just that the legislature gets pressure because somebody doesn't do the right thing. You can see the same thing happens in big companies. You just end up rule after rule after rule, and that's why it gets more difficult. So, but I think the legislature is very receptive, and I'm clearly very receptive of trying to give more flexibility to the school districts, because you have the same goal that I have. You want the kids here to get the best education possible. Anybody that runs for statewide office, I can tell you what people care about. And I travel the state pretty much almost every day. If you ask my wife, they care about three things. They want their child to get an education, because it's the only chance you have in this country to live the American dream. They want a job, and they don't want government to raise the cost of living. So if I look at my job as a governor, if I do those three things well, then I'll have been a very good governor. So, but if you have ideas, let me know, and you can call me directly, or or you can call Scott Kittle up in Policy and Budget.
We'd love to be able to schedule a meeting, maybe a half an hour to an hour.
Sure, if you'll talk to Brad. But there's gonna be a lot of focus on a lot of what we're doing as far as testing right now. Because we all know that measurement does make us all better, but we can't just measure. What else? All right.
Governor?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'd like to thank you again for taking your time to come out and visit our port today, but additionally, I'd like to thank you and FDOT and Marriott, our partners in the Birth 12 project, for believing in Port Manatee and investing your scarce dollars here in our business. Obviously, we believe Port Manatee represents the port with the highest growth potential and opportunity in the Gulf, and probably the state, for that matter, but especially with the Florida International Gateway right across the street, with thousands of acres of developable land that are dedicated to maritime interests. The Gateway is our ILC, or International Logistics Center. It's adjacent to the port, saves much time in moving products or cargo from dockside to its destination for delivery, thereby saving our customers a lot of costs. If Carlos were here today, I'm sure he would say it's all about birth control, our business. I think you've heard that a number of times. So,
I wouldn't say that. I think that's good for me.
Carlos wouldn't hesitate.
So, but Birth 12, the extension that we're doing out there is maybe one, if not the only, maybe two, one other berth in the state that is being constructed today. Southeast Florida is totally congested. There are no new construction going on down there of berths. So it is about birth control, as Carlos would say. But we hope you'll continue to see the investment potential at Port Manatee and consider us as your partners in future development. So.
Well, thanks again for everybody for coming. I think Sharon probably said it right. All of us, if we need to market ourselves more. If we do, there's no limit on what we can accomplish. And if you think about, well, it's nice that everybody does well, but the truth is the biggest benefit is there's a whole bunch of people that will get jobs that don't have them today. And there's plenty of families that need jobs. And we have every opportunity to give them more jobs. I mean, all of us, the people in business, are going to be successful, but there's a lot of people that will get jobs that don't have them. We'll be able to afford the healthcare safety nets that we need. We'll be able to afford the education programs we need if we do the right things, and because we have every opportunity. This area of the state has a significant opportunity. If there's anything that we can, any of us at the FDOT or DEP, any of us can do to be helpful, Grace Swopes will do it. So thank you very much for coming today.